Hey guys, welcome to Free Your Zen. My name is Oliver, Ollie, if you will, helping you awaken, heal and thrive. Now in today's video, I'm talking about how to release trapped emotions in the body. I'm going to talk about 4 techniques that you can use to release trapped emotions in the body, as well as a little bit about what repressed and trapped emotions actually means. But before I go ahead and do that, if you like this video, make sure you click the subscribe button and the bell notification so you don't miss anything. So what is a repressed or trapped emotion and what effect does it have in the body? So simply put, a repressed or trapped emotion is an emotion that you did not fully feel, process or acknowledge in the moment of its occurrence. Now I'm going to use an example of shame. Say for instance you're a child and you want something from your caregivers. You want food, you want shelter, safety or reassurance in any sort of way, and if this was not given to you, if it wasn't given to you consistently especially, then what you tend to do is you tend to devalue your own needs. This is internalized shame. You start to think that your needs are not valid and you shouldn't speak those out into the world. Now this internalized shame, if it lies unprocessed throughout a person's childhood into adulthood, this internalized sense of shame manifests itself as an adult in certain behaviors such as low self-worth, a tendency towards a lack of self-care, self-destructive behaviours, and also what you'll tend to find is any emotion that's repressed or trapped within your being tends to create situations in reality in your life where these emotions come to the surface again, because the psyche seeks growth and self-actualization. So it will do this, it will create, without your knowledge or without your conscious awareness, situations that bring these emotions to the surface so that you can process them. And if you don't process them, you'll start to notice the exact same patterns in your lives. What you tend to notice is this pattern emerge in relationships, for instance, as well. If your relationships follow a certain pattern, you'll notice that there'll be some sort of psychological dam, some energetic dam, emotional dam built within you that's recreating the same pattern so you can experience the emotions that are trapped within you. And when it comes to trauma and the way the body responds to it, big events such as bereavements or people leaving you in your life are processed in the same way that we would categorize little events such as being rejected or being made fun of, for example. Now, from a personal example I have, when I was in primary school, I said something really silly in a class. Now the entire class was laughing at me and I cried in the moment, really difficult experience. I cried almost hysterically in response to what everyone was doing. Everyone was laughing at me for saying a certain thing. And I realised that as an adult, this tends to manifest itself as fear of the group, which is why I tend to lean towards public speaking and YouTube videos, because I want to self-actualize and confront this fear that came about as a result of this experience. Another thing I want to mention, which is quite interesting, in relation to memory. If you have any memory that's older than 18 months old and it still causes an emotion within you, then you haven't actually dealt with that memory fully. You haven't processed it. And another really interesting thing is, if you experience the emotion associated with the memory, it's likely that you are not experiencing that memory through the eyes of who you are now. You're experiencing the memory through the eyes of who you were when you experienced it. So in a sense, the psyche is trapped back there. And in this way, big traumatic events, this is why it can be really hard to move on from big traumatic events, because especially if you repress it, because you're still that person, you're still stuck back there. So it's really important that you process this and deal with this so the flow of life can be restored in its entirety. So how do we actually do this? Now, it's interesting because there's a book called The Body Keeps the Score by a guy called Bessel van der Kolk. And in this book, he briefly talks about how conventional therapies such as talking and drug therapies in relation to the healing of trauma have only had limited success, and certain creative therapies such as art, music, mindfulness, dance therapies have had I've had great success in this area. So in relation to what I'm going to talk about now, the 4 techniques, the 4 methods that I have used to confront sort of trauma and trapped emotion, and that you can use too. It relates to the creative sort of arts in a sense. So number 1 is breath work. Now, I've meditated for about 10 years now, on and off, of course, everyone does to a degree. Breath work came about the past few months. Breath work essentially is a type of meditation where you sustain a type of breathing pattern consistently throughout the meditation. Usually they last longer than 10-20 minutes. Usually breathwork experiences are between 30 to 60, sometimes 90 minutes long. And basically the pattern of breathing is this. And what you do is you breathe into the belly and out. So it's like a powerful breathing technique. Now what happens when you do this, and what happened with me, is when I was breathing in and out really intensely, I've done a breathwork sort of meditation about 6 or 7 times. It's been a really intense experience every single time without fail. What tends to happen is you have physical sensations. Now for me, my hands tightened up and my chest really tightened up. I felt like I was imploding, or better yet, I felt like I was collapsing into my chest. I was having this really strong trapped feeling. But the more I breathed, the more I allowed myself to experience whatever came up. Tears occurred. I started crying hysterically. This is trapped emotion being brought to the surface, and I felt healthy and I felt light and I felt a little bit more free by the end of it. And I did this like 6 or 7 times. I'm planning another one soon because it's a really intense experience. It makes you feel lighter, but you can't really explain why or how, but it's as if the body knows, and you're giving it that chance to sort of bring it to the surface and experience it. Number 2 is autobiographical journaling. Now, I talked a little earlier about memory in relation to emotion and the importance of reliving past events through the lens of who you are now rather than who you were when you experienced it. Now, when I say journaling can be used in a variety of ways. Now, journaling, usually if you just write things down, whatever thoughts come to mind, it's very useful. But in this sense, autobiographical journaling means you are going back and you are writing an autobiography of your life. This will bring memories to the surface so you can experience them through the lens of who you are now, which helps you process past trauma and emotion, which helps you live freely, live in the present, in this moment. Number 3 is facing your fears consciously. Now, when you have a fear, it's likely that this fear is a reflection of the past. A fear is a projection of the future, a fear of what might happen, and we usually base this on what did happen in the past. I used the example earlier of me facing my fear of public speaking and facing my fear of presenting myself on YouTube to the group, which is what you guys are, to me at least, in an effort to sort of heal and self-actualize and sort of come to terms with that fear I had of the group sort of turning on me in a sense. So facing your fears consciously will help you become more aware of what your fears and triggers are, which will help you, once again, process these past emotions and live more freely in the present. And number 4, the last one, is exercise. Now exercise, think of this, intense exercise allows you to shift energy. Now, I'm not entirely sure how this works, this whole process, but what I do know is intense exercise, and it can be any exercise really, like yoga and stuff, but I've often found that intense exercise where your heart's beating out of your chest and you're sweating and you're knackered and etc. It kind of gets the energy within your body flowing freely. It's been often the case that I've trained, I've exercised really intensely, and I can feel quite emotional, or I can feel quite angry, or I can feel quite frustrated or something or another for no apparent reason. It's because these emotions are being pushed through the gate rather than trapped and stuck and static. Moving your body means moving your mind also. So exercise is really useful for releasing these trapped emotions. That is it, guys. That is the video. Thank you very much for watching. How to release trapped emotions. I'm going to quickly summarize everything we've talked about. Trapped emotions are emotions that you didn't experience in the moment fully. These emotions have an impact on how you're living today. And releasing these trapped emotions, you can do breath work, you can do autobiographical journaling, you can face your fears consciously, and you can exercise. These are ways that can help you release these trapped emotions. That is it. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you like that video, click like. Follow me on Instagram, if you want to support me on Patreon for as little as $1 a month. It all helps, doesn't it? And if you like my page on Facebook, I don't post too much to Facebook anymore, I don't really like it, but Instagram I do. I think it's owned by the same people anyway, so I'm kind of contradicting myself there. And as always guys, if you like this video and you want to see more like it, click the subscribe button and click the bell notification so you don't miss anything. Thank you guys, peace, have a wonderful day, bye.